People fear ghosts in graveyards, but the real horror begins when you realize the monster sleeps just a few feet from your bedroom wall. Maple Avenue was the kind of American street people dream about. Trimmed lawns, kids on bikes, soft golden sunsets. Every house looked like it belonged on a postcard. Except one. The Miller house. It wasn't destroyed or haunted looking. It was just wrong. Curtains always closed. Lights rarely on. Mailbox overflowing. People said the owner, Mr. Miller, was a war veteran who preferred silence. But no one really knew him. Across the street lived Hannah and her husband. Ryan, newly married, happy, normal. Hannah liked baking, and Ryan worked late shifts at a hospital. Every morning, she waved at the neighbors, but not at the Miller house, because no one ever waved back. Still, she sometimes saw shadows move behind those curtains. Once, she caught a faint flicker of light, like a TV glow, at 3 a.m. Another time, she heard something that sounded like crying. She told Ryan, but he laughed it off. Probably the TV. Or maybe he's just lonely. She wanted to believe that, until the night she found something strange in their trash can. A small paper bag with fresh blood stains on it. Started subtly, scratching at night, slow thuds through the walls, almost like something was being dragged. Hannah thought it was rats, until she realized it was coming from the direction of the Miller house. One night, while Ryan was at work, she sat by the window and stared at the house across the street. The porch light flickered on and off, though nobody had come out. Then she saw a door open, just a crack, and a figure moved inside, tall, broad, and slow. The next day, she mentioned it to the mailman. He froze for a second and said quietly, "That house hasn't received a letter in months. I stopped delivering there." Hannah's stomach twisted. Later that afternoon, she saw Mr. Miller for the first time. He stood at his porch, staring at her, not waving, not blinking, just watching. Then he turned around and shut the door, but the way he moved felt wrong, almost stiff, like his body wasn't used to human rhythm anymore. That night, she heard it again, dragging sounds, but this time, they came from under her house. The smell hit her first, metallic, sour, unbearable. She called pest control, thinking something had died beneath the floorboards. When the worker arrived and checked the crawl space, he came out pale and trembling. "You should call the police," he said quietly. "There's something wrapped in a tarp under there." Police came that afternoon. Ryan had rushed home worried. But when they checked, the space was empty. Clean. Nothing. They apologized and left, probably thinking Hannah was delusional. That night, Ryan told her, "You need to stop watching those true crime shows." He tried to laugh, but she could see fear behind his smile. Around 2 a.m., she woke up to the faint sound of humming. A man's voice, deep and broken, singing an old lullaby. She followed the sound through the living room, past the hallway, and froze at the front window. Mr. Miller was standing in the middle of the street, barefoot, staring up at their house. His mouth moved silently, like he was praying. Then he lifted his hand and pointed directly at her window. Ryan decided to confront him the next morning. He walked across the street and knocked. No answer. He turned the doorknob unlocked. Inside, the house smelled of bleach and rot. The floor creaked under his shoes. Every window was covered with black cloth. In the living room, there was a television playing static, and in front of it, a single chair. On the table beside it lay a photo frame. It was their wedding picture. Hannah and Ryan's. Someone had taken it from their porch weeks earlier, when they thought it had just blown away. Ryan backed out quickly, heart pounding. But before he could leave, he heard something from the basement. A faint rustle, like someone shifting in the dark. Then a voice, whispering his name. He ran. That evening, they packed bags and decided to stay at a friend's house. But before leaving, Hannah went back for her necklace, a gift from her late mother. She grabbed it and turned toward the window. The Miller house lights were on for the first time in years. And in the window, she saw him, smiling, holding something red-stained in his hand. A week later, the police returned to the Miller house after neighbors complained about the smell again. This time they broke down the door. The inside was worse than anyone imagined. In the basement they found several shallow pits filled with decomposed remains. Small animals, mostly. But in one corner was a tarp, half-covered. Inside it was a mannequin dressed in women's clothing, and on its neck hung Hannah's missing necklace. There was no sign of Mr. Miller.
No fingerprints. No trace.
Just silence. Months passed. Ryan sold the house and left the state. But Hannah never fully recovered. She started hearing that humming again, even in their new apartment. One night, she turned off all the lights and whispered, "It's over." A low voice whispered back from the dark, "No, Hannah, home follows you." Hannah and Ryan moved into a quiet apartment complex 3 states away. Ryan believed distance would fix everything. Hannah knew better but pretended for his sake. For weeks, nothing happened. No shadows, no noises, no humming. Then she noticed something small but wrong. Every morning at 3:17 a.m., the hallway light outside their door flickered. Every night, the elevator stopped on their floor with nobody inside. And once, Hannah saw wet footprints leading from the elevator to their door.
Bare footprints.
Too large to be a child's, too wide to be a woman's. Ryan brushed it off. "The building is old," he said. "Repair issues. That's it." But Hannah wasn't stupid. The Miller house had been old too, and that didn't explain why the footprints stopped directly at their door and nowhere else. One evening, as Hannah folded laundry, the apartment's intercom buzzed, but no one spoke, only deep breathing, slow, labored,
Familiar.
She turned the volume down, heart hammering. The voice whispered, "Hannah, you didn't shut the basement door." She dropped the laundry and ran to Ryan. But the problem was simple, this building didn't have a basement. The next night, Ryan finally admitted something. He'd been getting calls too. Unknown number. Same time every night. Each call lasted 10 seconds. No breathing, no speaking, just humming. The exact same lullaby Hannah had heard on Maple Avenue. Ryan didn't tell her earlier because he didn't want her spiraling again. But now the pressure was eating him alive. They contacted building security and asked for elevator footage. At first, the guard refused protocol. But when Ryan said, "We think someone is following us," the guard hesitated and pulled up the logs. They watched the screen carefully. 3 a.m. Elevator empty. Doors close. 3:04 a.m. Elevator stops on floor 4. Their floor, but no one enters or exits. 3:17 a.m. The elevator opens. And that's when Hannah's stomach dropped. A figure walked out. Tall, broad shoulders, clothes soaked, dripping on the floor. But the face blurred, like the camera couldn't register it or didn't want to. The figure walked straight down the hallway, leaving wet footprints, and stopped at their apartment door. It turned toward the camera. Not a face, just darkness. Then it raised its hand and pointed. Hannah stood frozen as the guard paused the footage. He swallowed hard and said, "Ma'am." This man wasn't captured on any other camera entering the building. They tried ignoring it. New locks, new number, new routines. Didn't matter. One morning, Hannah opened the door and found a small paper bag sitting on their welcome mat, folded the exact same way as the one she found months ago in her trash can. Inside was a single item, her childhood bracelet, the one she'd lost back on Maple Avenue. Something snapped inside her, fear mixing with rage. "This isn't possible," she whispered. "None of this is possible." Ryan checked the hallway empty. No cameras facing their door.
No footsteps.
No signs of anyone. That night they didn't sleep. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the apartment went silent. Unnaturally silent.
No frigium. No actini.
No street noise. Just stillness. Then the humming began. This time, it came from inside their apartment. Ryan grabbed a flashlight and motioned Hannah to stay back. He walked toward the living room, heart pounding. The humming got louder. He shone the light toward the window, nothing. Toward the kitchen, nothing. Then he turned toward the hallway. At the far end stood a tall figure, bare feet, drenched clothes dripping on the hardwood floor. His head slightly